Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Board of County Commissioners meeting, regular meeting, March 25th at 9 a.m. Please turn off your cell phones to vibrate, silence, or setting. The Board of County Commissioners allows any person to speak regarding an item on the agenda. Speakers limited to 3 minutes unless otherwise determined by the chair. Please refrain from any profane remarks, disruptive outbursts, protests, or other conduct which interferes with the orderly conduct of the meeting. Upon completion of the public comment period, discussion is limited to the board members and questions raised by the board. Commissioner May, do you have the invocation today?
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm very honored to have the senior esteemed pastor of the Inglewood Baptist Church to do the invocation today. Pastor Watson, will you please come forward? All you got to do is come to public forum, and next time you'll be doing the invocation.
Please stand.
Let us pray. Father, we thank you, God, for another day of opportunity, God. Thank you for life, health, and strength. God, we thank you, God, for the blessing of breath. The fact that we're breathing, God, gives us a notion that you still have a purpose and a reason for us to serve. So, God, I ask, God, that your presence would be in this meeting this morning. Pray, God, that you will give us the wisdom and the knowledge to lead and guide your people, God. We pray, God, that you would just allow, God, a sense of unity, a sense of understanding, a sense of humility to be with us today, God. God, we just thank you again for this opportunity, God. We ask, God, that the words of our mouth and the meditation of our hearts would be acceptable in your sight. O Lord, our strength and our Redeemer. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Amen. Please join me in the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mr. Chairman, Pastor Watson, thank you so much, and really thank you and the Inglewood Neighborhood Association for the last couple of weeks of meetings, and your concerns did not fall on deaf ears, and we're going to continue to work with you, and thank you for the hospitality and just being cordial and understanding how the process works, so we certainly appreciate it. Thank you, Pastor Watson.
Thank you. Is there any items to add to the agenda, Commissioner Berry?
Allison, you don't have anything?
No, sir.
Okay. I had two discretionary items. I think that they,
Are they added? Jose says they're added.
thank you, then no. Thank you.
Okay. Commissioner May?
I have none, Mr. Chairman, but I would like, one of the largest projects in my district is the Baptist Hospital deal. I think there's been a lot of misinformation and miscommunication, and so I know that it's, from what I understand from the administrator, it's the intent of the chair to have it on the April 3rd meeting. It was my desire to have it as a discussion item today, but I certainly would just like to have a little conversation about it at the end of the meeting, and knowing that it will be put on the April 3rd agenda.
Yeah, I have no problem entertaining that. My concern with putting it on the agenda yesterday was that the community didn't have time to be here. I don't like doing that. The second thing was we haven't seen the contract, which I brought up with the mayor yesterday, which they're not supposed to give to us to April 3rd. So for me, that was irresponsible. But yes, we can talk about it at the end of the meeting if you want.
And Mr. Chair, I certainly agree with you, and I've talked to Representative Andrade. I've talked to the mayor, and I've expressed my concerns to the mayor that I knew that the issue would be the release of the bids, and he stated that position. Certainly, he's not here to have this conversation, and obviously he'll be at the next meeting. But I certainly want to make my position known, exactly where I stand, because I've certainly talked to our friends at Baptist, talked to our friends at the mayor in the state of what this project means in our district and what position I take on it. And I don't want any indication that obviously we could not have conversation. I represent one of five, and that's my position, and what others' position is, that's their position, and that's the mayor's in Baptist. I mean, that's their deal to talk that, but I certainly want to make sure that it's known that this, as outlined, Field 8 would be very important to Commissioner Stroberg and Commissioner Berry. 54 acres inside District 3 would be very important to myself as I represent the district, and I know Commissioner Hoffberger represents the city as well, and this is probably one of the largest projects that will happen in the city of Pensacola in our lifetime.
So at the end of the meeting, I'll entertain your discussion on it.
Yep, I think Baptist is here, so I'd appreciate that.
Okay. Is that it, Commissioner May?
That's it. Thank you so much.
Commissioner Strober?
Nothing, thanks.
No items.
Okay, I don't have anything as well. Okay, can I have a motion to adopt the?
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Is there a second?
Second.
Please vote. 5-0. I was thinking about trying electronic today unless you guys want to just do hand. Okay, we'll just do hand vote. All right, Commissioner Forum, Commissioner Berry?
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. To wish my colleague a happy birthday on Sunday afternoon. And I see there's a birthday card being distributed. I would point out that I've had a couple of birthdays on days that we actually had meetings and was never the recipient of a birthday card, but that's what happens when you run unopposed, I suppose, or you get 90% of the vote when you are opposed, then you get birthday cards as well. The only thing I want to highlight in public forum or in Commissioners Forum this morning, today is my mother's birthday, and so we celebrated her birthday on Sunday afternoon, with the kids and grandkids and great-grandkids out at my brother's house, and had a grand time. When I leave here today, I'm going to go by and visit. But today is her birthday, and I know, often people think that their mother is the greatest. They've got the greatest mom in the world. Some of us, that's true. Yeah. So, yeah. So I just want to wish her a happy birthday.
Commissioner May?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and Commissioner Berry, please wish, I'm sure your mom's watching as mothers continue to watch their children no matter how old they get or whatever they do. And so it's great to have share the same day with your mom for your birthday. But I certainly want to thank our colleagues, each of you, for the gift. There was no money in it, so we don't have to.
Oh, don't worry, we're not done yet.
Yeah, you couldn't violate that. And certainly, I did not get cake and a party like Commissioner Kohler did for his birthday party. But maybe, one day I'll be liked enough to get that. So we do appreciate each of you, Allison and all the commissioners and Wes. Thank you. It was a great day on Sunday, and we had a lot of support from District 3 and a lot of gatherings of people who cared. And on last evening, some dear friends and I were able to celebrate. So it's just a blessing to be alive at this age when you're over 50. But certainly want to acknowledge Ms. Gwen McCrae's family. Gwen McCrae was an international recording artist that was from Pensacola, and she was laid to rest this past Saturday, and we just want to send our prayers and condolences out to Ms. Gwen McCrae. Certainly want to send our condolences and prayers out to a person who's well known to each of us, the president of FPL, Mr. J.T. Young, his mother. Funeral services, I think, were coming Saturday, but we certainly want to send our prayers and thoughts out to J.T. Young and Deidre Young and their entire family.
Commissioner,
I'm sorry.
I think it would be appropriate if the board would, send some flowers or something on behalf, from the Board of County Commissioners to the service. I think that'd be lovely. I know, JT has a lot of, he's been a good friend to a number of us over the years, and FPL has a huge footprint in our region, and it's a tough situation for he and his family.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I will tell you that I think JT and Deidre would be very grateful. His mother's name was Mabel Young. And her services will be Friday, March 28th at 9:30 a.m. at the Joe Morris Funeral Home, which is 701 North of Village Street. So I think it would be fitting and proper to send that.
If Jose can,
I'm sorry.
Wes and Jose can work on that.
Yeah, we can.
Okay,
I mean,
yeah.
you heard
Absolutely.
that? Yeah, no problem.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And finally, the invocation of Pastor Watson. I do appreciate the work of Inglewood, and myself and staff spent a lot of time this last week. Quite frankly, we're not reactionary. We're very proud of the work that we've done and the sidewalks and the drainage that we put in. Obviously, there's always more work to be done, and we certainly are going to work to make sure that our human services and our CRAs better communicate with citizens as it relates to things that are happening in their neighborhood. But I do appreciate the Inglewood Neighborhood Association and the Inglewood Baptist Church in your leadership for the conversations that we've had in the past couple weeks. And finally, Mr. Chairman, I want to thank our Public Works engineering. We had a lot of rain yesterday, a lot of flooding. Upon phone calls, people quickly quickly reacted to the needs and the flooding of citizens. And so, Wes, to you and your staff, thank you for being concerned about all neighborhoods and the flooding that is systemically happening in many of our underserved neighborhoods. So, and finally, we were at Legislative Day. One of the topics Representative Salzman did bring forth, and I was there, term limits. I think that's a conversation and exactly that will probably be put forth to the voters about the term limits of locally elected officials. Mike, some say it's county commissioners, some say it's all. So it was good to be down there and looking at that. And, the other takeaway, Mike, while I was there, that we met with staff, fact staff, and others, is the possible elimination of CRAs that's going to come, and community block grant monies and CRAs certainly are going to have some challenging days in the days to come. And so hopefully we begin to have that conversation of how we brace ourselves or prepare ourselves in case the funding or funding formulas change. And so just wanted to bring those reports back, Mr. Chairman.
Yeah, well, I'll put on the record, I'm adamantly opposed to getting rid of CRAs. I think it hurts the poorest communities in our state, so hopefully that fails. But anyways, Commissioner Steelberger, any comments?
Yeah, good morning, everybody. So today is National Medal of Honor Day. The first Medal of Honors were presented during the Civil War on this day in 1863. The President of the United States has awarded more than 3,500 Medal of Honors. I've had the honor of meeting 3 Medal of Honor awardees, and according to the Medal of Honor Society, as of today, there are 61 living recipients of the Medal of Honor. And then I have a bunch of pictures of me with these Medal of Honor awardees, and I won't show those to you, but one of them is Captain Thomas Hudner. He was awarded for his action attempting to save the life of his wingman, Ensign Jesse Brown, during the Battle of Chosin Reservoir. That was in December 1950. Private First Class Jack Lucas, I met him on the Iwo Jima when I was in the mini-boss on the Iwo Jima. He threw himself onto a grenade and pulled a second grenade under his body during the battle. And he lived. Amazing. Major General Patrick Brady, I met him with Mike a couple of years ago. He was awarded for his heroism extracting soldiers on 3 separate missions during the Vietnam War. The next thing is I attended a special event at the National Naval Aviation Museum a couple of weeks ago. It was the 80th anniversary of the USS Indianapolis tragedy. The keynote speaker was Commander Hunter Scott. Hunter Scott is a Pensacola native, and he went to Ransom Middle School. And while he was there, he had a history project. And that history project was about the USS Indianapolis, the tragedy. Commander Scott played a pivotal role in exonerating Captain Charles McVeigh III, who was the commander and the captain of the Indianapolis. Commander Scott's research restored the honor to Captain McVeigh's name, and decades after the Indianapolis tragedy. The Naval Aviation Museum commemorates lots of events like this all the time. And if you haven't been to one, you should go to the museum, check that out. You can go to the website or download the app, and you can start tracking these free events to attend. They're educational and they're inspiring. You should attend. Also, did you know that Pensacola was recognized as Florida's official World War II heritage city in December 2022? It's a designation given by the National Park Service, and it's to recognize Pensacola's contributions to the war effort and its ongoing preservation of military history. So there's only one city that gets this designation in Florida, and it's us. It's Pensacola. Pensacola played a crucial role in the war effort, particularly through the Naval Air Station Pensacola, which trained thousands of aviators and flight officers to include President George H.W. Bush, and a future Escambia County Commissioner, aviator number 22,373. The next thing I'd like to talk about is Terry here? Okay, good. Is Dining for Disaster. That's coming up on Thursday. Dining for Disaster is a it's an awesome cause, and it benefits our community. We've got, how many do we have, Terry? We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We got 9 or 10 restaurants in the area that are participating in this, and what they do is they donate. They either make a donation or they donate, I guess the number is generally about 10% of their take for that day on Thursday, and they donate it to the Red Cross, to our chapter, for use in our county and in the Panhandle. So, let's see, what else? Okay, the last one. I forgot to say happy birthday to Mrs. Berry and also happy birthday to Lumen. It's not my birthday. Okay, but on March 31st, it's going to be my anniversary, mine and Gina's anniversary. It's 41 for me, and like I told Wes, I married up too, and it's going to be 41 years of marital bliss. It's not always marital bliss, and it never was really for my wife, but it has been for me. I kid. No, she loves me like crazy. And that's all I got. Thank you.
Thank
We
you.
should send Gina some flowers. Anyways, go ahead.
Jose, can we get on? No, I'm just kidding. Good morning, everyone. I want to start by saying thank you to the Ferry Pass Fire Department Station 7, which is actually the only county station in District 4. 2 weeks ago, I was able to shadow those guys and watch them work hand in hand with our EMS department to provide life-saving skills for our community, so thank you so much. For the week of March 10th through 16th, our firefighters ran 393 calls, and our 911 dispatchers received over 6,000 calls, and that's within one single week. So I want to thank you all for your hard work and your dedication and your commitment to keeping our community safe. As you know, public safety is my #1 priority, and last month we stationed an ambulance on Pensacola Beach that will remain out there. So as your family has their play days and as your grandparents come to dip their toes in the sand in the sea, if they have an emergency, help will be available. Also, last month, we added a mid-shift team to EMS. So that team will be able to respond during peak calls to our community. So thank you so much for making that happen. And within the next 8 weeks, there will be 8 additional ambulances on the road in Escambia County to serve our community. So thank you so much for your commitment. Thank you for growing that department. And thank you for making sure that our community remains safe. For a celebration today at 2 p.m., we have a ribbon cutting on the First Community Center in District 4. I want to especially thank previous commissioner and current supervisor of elections, Robert Bender, for championing that and making that happen. So if you are available, I ask that you do join us today at 2 p.m. for the ribbon cutting at the Ferry Pass Community Center. And that is also available for the community to start booking events. I will say last week I took my little girl out there and we had a wonderful play day in the playground, beautiful playground. Families were coming up, they were biking, they were walking over with their kids, and it's going to get great use. So I am so excited to be a part of that today, and I hope you'll join us as well.
Thank you. Just a few things here. Sometimes corrections get left behind, but I think it's worth mentioning last month, Chief Powell, congratulations very much on getting the highest level accreditation. That's a huge honor. I think we should give them a round of applause for that. It's the 3rd time. Jail's a tough place, but to achieve that status, you need to make sure that your staff and everyone gets a pat on the back for that. I want to mention Mike Rhodes. I don't know if Mike's here. He's out. I want to thank him for cleaning up at Mayfair the other day. They pressure washed the building and cleaned up the park, and we had a nice fun day out there where there was probably 100 people, and Sheila Peterson, one of the activists in that community, was very happy, as well as Pastor Dixon brought the food and Jumpy's things. It was a real nice day. We had a kind of unique situation a week and a half ago. The consulate of Japan came to visit us, and I brought our county attorney in. I happen to be involved in the Japanese American Society just because my time in the military, and one of my bosses, Captain Mark Goto, as a CO, is very active in that community, and they reached out to the county and wanted to come see what we did, and just are very proud that we have a sister city in Japan, Jiro, that many may not know, but Escambia County has a very close-knit connection with the Japanese community in Jiro, Japan. So I want to thank Consulate Nakano for coming and sharing his time. We exchanged gifts. If anyone's been to Japan, that's very common. I gave him a challenge coin, and he gave me a tin cup of Mount Fuji. And I just want to thank him for his gratitude and spending time in our community. This weekend, I know several of us will be at the Fur Ball. It's a fundraiser for the Humane Society, and that'll be fun. And one last thing, Commissioner May, I need you to come back to the dais. Where are you? Yeah, could you please come back? Okay, so as you know, it was Commissioner May's birthday on Sunday, and he's the lone Democrat. He has to deal with all these Republicans, but he got lone Democrat up here on the board. But he got ahead of himself because I know how much he likes cake. So we got him a cake. It's a magnet here. Steve, I like one though. Yeah. Here's your cake. I won't make friends. This is no Steve. What's this kid? Oh, I got one. Steve wanted you to wear his shirt for his campaign.
Yeah.
Constitution, in case you forget it. I like the flag. Happy birthday.
That's not all that's in there.
All jokes aside, I love having fun.
This is not worth $25.
There's cigars, and also I got you these beads, and it's got a Republican elephant on it.
We have a lot of fun with Lumen, but it's in good taste, and
I love all people, man.
And the emergency mustache kit, I have one in my locker up in the office, and I'm going to make sure I get one first, Stephen, because he's going to want one of these. Everyone's got to have one. Emergency mustache kit.
enjoy your birthday, Commissioner.
All right. Thanks, Commissioner. In all of my tenure, I've never received a birthday gift from any commissioner, so this means a lot. I appreciate it.
We have
Is
to
the last one yet?
Happy birthday, Lumen.
Thank you, sir.
Wes, I think you're up.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'd like to ask Mr. Andy Leese to come up to the podium, please. I'd like to introduce Andy as my selection as our new solid waste services director. He's a former United States Coast Guard commissioned officer with 17 years of experience in the waste services industry, bringing expertise in waste and recycling operations, solid foundation hauling and materials recovery facility management to Escambia County. He previously held various industry leadership positions where he's successfully introduced new business methodologies, pioneered single-stream recycling, expanded customer portfolios, and secured multi-million-dollar contracts. He and I had a good visit the other day, and he brings a wealth of knowledge, a wealth of experience. We appreciate Don Seitz being with us, and he's transitioning out, and I think it'll be a great transition between Andy and Don. As you know, we have the expansion project going on. But welcome to the team. Board, I'm asking y'all to ratify my selection by vote this morning, and then we'll hear some words from Mr. Leese.
Do you have a motion?
I'll make a motion.
I'll second it.
Please vote. Motion passes 5-0. Wes,
Andy?
welcome aboard.
Thank you, Wes. Thank you, Commissioners. I appreciate the opportunity. I look forward to serving the citizens of Escambia County. As Wes said, 17 years in waste and recycling. Been a resident of the area for 10 years, traveling all over the country, leading national companies, and now I'm excited to be part of Escambia County's government. So thank you. Look forward to the opportunity.
Yeah, welcome. The only concern I have, you have a lot of Coast Guard stories? Because as a Navy guy, I don't know how many I can take. You know, I'm glad to have you on board. And Don, you've been a blessing to this organization, and you're going to be missed. I think everyone up here would agree with that. You've done a great job, and well, I'm sorry to see you go, but looking forward to working with you. Thank you. Yeah. Okay. All right, let's move on to adoption and ratification of proclamations. I have a motion.
So move.
Second.
Please vote. Okay. First one that we have is Wes for the purchasing director.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, Board. This is recognition of National Procurement Month, National Purchasing Month. I can't say enough good about this group walking up behind me. I can tell you where we were 5 years ago, and I can tell you where we are now. This group is driving work out the door, 62.8 just in ARPA funds at the end of by the end of the calendar year last year, in addition to all the LOST projects and design projects. And they're just a phenomenal group. They work well together. It's always a good time when I get to go spend time in their conference room going through the projects. Tina usually brings donuts, which makes it a great time. But they're all very great employees. They work hard. You know, it's one of these groups that go unseen a lot of times, but the work they do is vital to our success. It's vital to the success of the board, honestly. So with that, I'll read the proclamation. It says, whereas purchasing professionals play a significant role in the efficient and effective operations of both government and business, and whereas the Escambia County Office of Purchasing is responsible for the acquisition of equipment, materials, supplies, and services vital to the operations, facilities, and infrastructure that contribute to the high quality of life for all county residents. And whereas purchasing professionals are tasked with executing and implementing contracts, developing and improving technical procurement strategies, and cultivating great working relationships with vendors and county departments. Whereas the public procurement professionals working for Escambia County are responsible for complying with county ordinances, state statutes, and federal regulations for purchases totaling hundreds of millions of dollars per year. And whereas the observance of Purchasing Month, we further expand the awareness of the procurement professionals' role to government officials, the general public, and corporate leaders. Now therefore be it proclaimed that the Board of County Commissioners of Escambia County, Florida, hereby proclaim the month of March 2025 as Purchasing Month. Board of County Commissioners of Escambia County, Florida, Michael S. Kohler, Chair, District 2, Ashley Hoffberger, Vice Chair, District 4, Steve Stroberger, District 1, Lumen J. May, District 3, and Stephen Berry, District 5. Give them a hand, please.
About a year ago, I stood up here in front of most of you and accepted the role as the Director of Purchasing. In the last year, my team and I have done more than we have in any year past. Fiscal year 2025 started October 1st. We're already up to 74 solicitations. That's huge. The first year I was here, we did 100 for the entire year. We're already up to over 1,500 POs just in the few months. We're learning grants. We're doing vendor recruitment. The last 2 years, we've brought in at least 2,000 new vendors for the county. So this isn't Lindsay, this is my team, and thank you guys for your support.
Thank you. Good job.
You guys don't have, you don't get to hide. Okay. We're purchasing, we're awkward. But you can stay right there, Kent.
Can I get two more on this side, though? On this side? On this side.
Angela and Kent, move.
Don't try this at home.
Like each other.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. Commissioner Stroberger? Are you still relishing in your birthday over there, Commissioner May?
So I've been a member of the American Red Cross since after Sally, so a few years. And I don't think anybody really thinks about the American Red Cross until they need the American Red Cross. And we need the American Red Cross all the time, don't we, Terry? Terry has been serving with the American Red Cross for over 25 years? Almost 20. Well, almost 20. And I appreciate your service to the community, Terry. So let me read this for you. Whereas we celebrate the American Red Cross Month by recognizing the compassionate acts of the people of Escambia County and by renewing our commitment to lend a helping hand to our neighbors in need. And whereas since Clara Barton founded the American Red Cross more than 140 years ago, generation after generation has stepped up to deliver relief and care across our country and around the world, bringing out the best of humanity in times of crisis. And whereas advancing this noble mission, the volunteers, blood and platelet donors, and supporters who now give back through the Northwest Florida Red Cross chapter remain unwavering in their commitment to prevent and alleviate human suffering in the face of today's emergencies. And whereas their voluntary and generous contributions sign a beacon of hope in people's darkest hours, whether it's delivering food, shelter, and comfort during disasters, providing critical blood donations for hospital patients, supporting service members, veterans, and their families, saving lives with first aid, CPR, AED, and other skills, or delivering international aid and reconnecting loved ones who are separated by global crises. And whereas this work to uplift our community is truly made possible by those who selflessly answer the call to help, like Terry, whenever and wherever it's needed. Now, therefore, be it proclaimed that the Board of County Commissioners of Escambia County, Florida, does hereby declare March 2025 as Red Cross Month and encourages the citizens of Escambia County, Florida, to reach out and support this humanitarian mission and join in their commitment to care for one another. The Board of County Commissioners of Escambia County, Florida, Michael S. Kohler, Chairman, District 2, Ashley Hoffberger, Vice Chairman, District 4, Steve Stroberger, District 1, Lumen J. May, District 3, Stephen Berry, District 5.
Thank you. Good morning to the commission and everybody here. Like Steve said, sometimes we don't think about the Red Cross until we hear about something on the national news. But let me reassure you with 100% conviction, the Red Cross is active and alive and well in this community every day. It is projected already to be a more intense hurricane season than last year, if you can imagine that. So I've been a part of this community for 2.5 years, and ever since I arrived, Ian, Helene, Idalia, Debbie all shifted away from this community and went back to where I came from, which was Valdosta, Georgia, and devastated. A lot of people say, come back, come back. You know, but the point is that we strive to educate and train and recruit and prepare people for those unexpected disasters, what we call no-notice events. Download the apps, donate blood. You know, when disasters happen, that, you know, the blood that's on the shelves is depleted rather quickly. We have two times a month blood drives at the office on Sturtevant Street. This Saturday at Greater Rock Little Baptist Church, LaTanya Wesley, another board member who works at UWF, is hosting a health fair along with a sickle cell blood drive. And so we know the importance of donating for sickle cell patients. And so you can get free A1C testing, get all kinds of screening, vaccines at Greater Rock Little Baptist Church from 8:30 to 1:30 on Saturday. Spiritual Care Network, mental health services. The last 5 years, our mental health has been drastically affected by what's going on globally, domestically, here locally in our chapter. And so the Red Cross provides all kinds of services. This chapter is 108 years old. And so we've been busy for 108 years. And so if you'd like to learn more, please reach out to me. And in partnership with Travis, we're, I think, participating in an EOC exercise coming up. I think an airport exercise this week. And so it's being out in the community that helps us and volunteers like Steve and LaTanya be able to do what we do, and that's to help you in case you need it. Thank you.
Is LaTanya here?
No. know. Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Thank you. We're now at written communications. We have one speaker, Mr. Jesse Horn. Would you like to come up and present your case? Commissioner, may I think this property's...
Yeah, Mr. Day, Tim, Tim, can you come forward, please? I thought we found resolution in this at the last. Was it coming back? I mean, what happened? I mean, because we had some issues on the other property and we detached one. And I'm just wondering even if it's ready for today because I'm not as educated as I should be. I thought it was resolved either way.
Okay. It's, the board did act last time, and ultimately, and Mr. Horn can talk to it, ultimately, he, I believe, did not refinance his home, and then, therefore, the agreement he had with the board ultimately fell through because it wasn't acted on. So he's back today, as I understand it, asking for a similar relief from the Pace property in his homestead. But to my knowledge, according to his correspondence, he's not offering anything to compensate for the board removing the liens from his homestead or from the property code had done work.
So, Mr. Chairman, I mean, I'm happy to hear from the speaker, but I'm certainly going to move the dropped item until we can get together because I spent a lot of hours with you and Mr. Horn trying to find a resolution that we wouldn't have to debate in a public forum. And I do apologize, Tim, for
Yes, sir.
this kind of caught me by surprise. And so, I mean, we can hear from the speaker, but I'm going to move the dropped
Mr.
item.
Horn, do you want to speak?
Because I
if-
can't decipher this in this short period of time.
I'm fine with dropping it, but would you still like to speak, Mr. Horn? Okay, come on up.
Bring the dates for, would y'all need a copy?
Yeah, thank you.
Okay. Thank you for giving me the opportunity. I'm here for the, I'm here for the 2201 Pace Boulevard. It's an estate, and I'm the co-owner of the estate. And to make this short and briefly, the estate owned a portion home, a mortgage home at a certain address.
Mr. Horn, will you put the speaker over just a little bit? I'm trying to hear you and I can't.
Okay. The estate owned a mortgage home, and there was a enforcement lien on it of $156,000 on both property, my property and the estate. The mortgage home was released, and all when the mortgage company, for the mortgage company, and everything was put on my personal home property, which was $156,000. And what I had been asking for now, the board did, the commissioners did agree to remove $75,000 of it. However, during the financing status, and I was going to pay for that part, they didn't release the other part for the estate. But however, I didn't have no funds to do so. So now that the estate is involved with it now, so they are asking for that their property also be released. So the total will be over $156,000 now, and we'll keep and pay the abatement fee. So we're asking for the total thing that was, well, you got the $156 on my own property, nothing on the estate, just my own personal home. That we're asking we'll say we are asking for that fine to be removed and released for both properties. And that's about it.
All right, thank you, sir, for your comments. Commissioner May, you still want to drop the item? So there's a motion?
Yes, I mean, Mr. Horn, I want to get with you. I mean, I guess the one question, the amount that you agreed to pay, did you pay it?
Oh, no, no, we did not pay that amount because there wasn't enough left to do it.
Right, I understood. So, I mean, it'd be hard for me to decipher.
Okay, like I said, the board had, the commissioners had approved.
Right, I'm well aware of you. Remember, we spent a lot of time together sitting down in my office. Yeah.
Right.
So what I'm going to do, Mr. Chairman, we'll get together. We'll get Tim, and you and I, Tim, and the administrator meet. I'm just going to move to drop the item right now, and we'll bring it back.
Do we need a vote? Okay, there's a motion. Can I have a second?
Second.
Please vote. Written communication 1 is dropped from the agenda. Thank you, Mr. Horn, for coming and providing your comments.
Thank you, too.
Okay, did the clerk's office receive proof of publication for public hearing on the agenda today?
Mr. Chairman, the clerk's office has received all proofs.
Okay. Madam Clerk,
Move to waive the reading.
oh, yeah. Okay, please vote. Motion passes 5-0. Madam Clerk, you're up on clerk and
Sure,
comptroller
I have
report.
four items on the consent agenda. The first one is the TDT collection report for February of 2025. You'll see that there was a slight increase. The second is the January investment report. The third is disposition of documents. The fourth is minutes and reports that we prepared. I'll need your vote on that. I'd also like to inform you that we are going through an annual vehicle inventory. This will test our inventory controls on assignment and safeguarding of assets. You have close to 1,000 vehicles in your inventory, so we will start with the paper inventory of questions and answers. We will also be on site. This is for the June audit. We never get out of an audit period, so I'll ask that Ms. Bowers and Mr. Marino cooperate timely so we can complete that. We've already started the process, and they have it in their hands. We'll try to get that wrapped up timely. The last thing I'd like to request is to speak on item CAR 228, which is broadband and EREC. I've got some questions about that and some comments, please.
Okay, we'll hold that. Wes, do you have a comment on the audit?
I would just say, of course, we're going to work as timely as we can. We're following everything through our Fleet Services Director, Tyler Davison, along with Mr. Ward. We're actively pursuing that, our participation in that audit, and we will continue to do so.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Madam Clerk, for your comments. Let's move on to Growth Management Report 1-1.
Move the clerk's report.
Oh, sorry. Do I have a second? Okay, well, second.
I will second.
Okay, please vote. Motion passes 5-0. Thank you. Okay, we'll move on to GMR 1-1. We have 6 speakers. We'll start with Mary Konopka, also known as Chief. Horace, do you want to let the speaker speak before we go forward on 1-1?
You can, it's how you want to do it. It's
Yeah, let's have the
mutual
speaker
adoption of
speak, and then we'll
ordinance.
have the county present. All right.
Good morning. I have a few questions that I've gathered from my geriatric group who can't make it down here on this pari-mutuel gaming. My first question is, you talked about Commissioner Strohberger, they would have 2 games, poker and some TV stuff. If the pari-mutuel ordinance passes, does that give them the ability, without anybody's permission, to expand pari-mutuel games? Because there's a lot of pari-mutuel stuff going on.
So I don't know the answer to that, but if your question is whether it can be a casino, it cannot.
Oh, I understand that.
Okay. Meredith, can you speak to that? Okay. Well, she's going to be speaking.
Yeah, because there's just several different pari-mutuel games besides poker and the TV
Yeah.
stuff, which if the facility's established and they decide to increase that, that's going to increase the traffic flow in that area, etc. The other question is that if this ordinance is approved, does that mean that Wind Creek can pick any commercial location to build on, or are they going to have parameters You know how the people in District 1 felt about Interstate Circle. I mean, you know, when the racetrack came into being many, many years ago, they were out in BFE. Really far away, for those who aren't sure about BFE. So when the developers decided to build around it, the people who bought those houses had a choice. Do I want to live near a racetrack and, you know, all this and that, or do I not? I don't care if the ordinance passes or not. But what I care about, and a lot of my colleagues, is they don't want to wake up in an area where they bought, they like it for whatever reason, it's quiet, peaceful. They don't want to wake up with a facility in their backyard. So I think that's really important.
Commissioner, do you have any other comments? Your time's up.
Really?
You get 3 minutes,
3
ma'am.
minutes, man.
Thank you for your comments. I appreciate them, and I know this is passionate to you.
Just what is Wind Creek what would that facility provide positively to this county?
Well, I think we're going to have several discussion, and thank you for your comments. Meredith, since you're there, I'll pull you up next. Please, Meredith Busher.
Thank you. Meredith Bush, 125 East Intendencia. I'm an attorney with Clark Partington and here on behalf of the operators of the current Greyhound poker room facility. To address Ms. Konopka's question, we would not be allowed to expand beyond the current licensed gaming. The state statute's very strict on what is allowed there. It's simulcast racing, it's a card room, and pari-mutuel wagering. As far as relocating to any other place in the county, the state statute is restrictive and it would only allow one of these locations within a 100-mile radius. So there would be only one. Wind Creek was mentioned. They would not be coming in to develop any other properties or any casinos or anything of that nature. It would be limited to the current operation that's going on out at the dog track location. We would just be relocated to the Interstate Circle. We have provided to the commissioners a list of donations to community organizations over the past 3 years. They've been good neighbors and would continue to be good neighbors. Frankly, the people in the area surrounding where they are now don't want to see them go. And so they would, continue to be good neighbors at the interstate location. I have representatives here from the card room and from Wind Creek, and I'm happy to take any questions.
Okay, thank you, Meredith. We'll wait till we get through the speakers if there's other questions that come up.
Okay.
Elizabeth Lomax, is Elizabeth there? Yeah, please come up, and then Corey Schicks on deck.
Hi, I'm Elizabeth Lomax, 4029 Glenway Drive. The history of these kinds of businesses is that they take more than they give. It doesn't matter what kind of promises they make. Gambling takes money out of the local community and gives it to the owners of the business, with no constructive good or service being provided in exchange. It also increases serious problems that have an impact, both socially and financially, on governments and citizens alike. Problems such as homelessness, increasing numbers of people on the welfare rolls, bankruptcies, domestic violence, child abuse, crime, violence, prostitution, human trafficking, sex trafficking, alcohol and drug use and abuse, leading to more DUIs and deaths on the road. All of these problems, which are well documented in the research literature, necessitate higher costs for law enforcement and social welfare programs, leading to higher taxes for everyone. Any increased tax revenue that government officials might hope for will be spent on the higher cost of handling all these problems. The high walls and buffers they promise do not protect the community. Rather, they create an allure to children and teens and even vulnerable adults who wonder what is going on inside and want to get in. And do we care about what the gambling is doing to the citizens inside the walls? It's causing all the problems I've just reviewed. They lure people in with the hope that they will win big, but most people don't. And even when people do win, they often spend the money on more gambling, hoping to win more. It's a vicious cycle that impoverishes many people. It will also cause more traffic problems in an area that is already insufficient for the amount of traffic it has, and which has recently been inundated with more traffic from numerous large apartment complexes, motels, and new businesses and traffic lights close to I-10. Residents in this area do not want this. The only people who want it there are the owners, who want to take money out of the community for themselves and do not care what damage they cause in the process. In summary, for all the money that is spent in these establishments, no constructive good or service is provided. Instead, problems are produced, serious problems, that residents and government officials alike will have to deal with. And even though the requested location is in District 1, these negative social and financial impacts will be felt in all 5 districts of this county. For these reasons, I urge all of you to vote no on this proposal.
Thank you, ma'am, for your comments. Mr. Schick, you're up. William Vineyard's on deck.
Good morning. Corey Schick, 7268 Harding Drive, and I do live in District 1, and I do support the ordinance on today's agenda for an amendment to add the language to add pari-mutuel betting card room. I'm here to support my fellow card players, and more importantly, the staff that work there, all the dealers, the floor staff, the servers, and security. The card room is more than a place to play cards. It is a social setting similar to a bowling alley, pool room tables, bingo parlors, golf courses. It is a place I go after work to de-stress, to chat with awesome dealers, and to chat with my fellow card players. There are the norms, like you see on Cheers, that walk in. This is their daily routine to come interact with people. They may not have it when they're in their current home life, or if they live in a facility, so they walk in here and they play and they interact with people. I was here in this room many years ago with all the others, all wearing the white T-shirts that say support the poker room when we voted in to add pari-mutuel betting to the dog track. And it is time to allow this location change closer to the interstate. Yes, could it increase traffic? Maybe, but I don't think any less than the current hotels or the possible Chick-fil-A that was slated to go there. Don't think it is anymore. But please treat this business the same as any others being allowed to build on Pine Forest, and please approve this amendment.
Thank you for your comments. William Vineyard, are you there out there? Come on up, sir. And Brent Pinkston's on deck.
William Vineyard. I don't have anything specific to add. If you have any questions, I'm available to respond.
Are you an attorney or are you on here?
No, I work for the Pensacola Greyhound Racetrack.
Okay, thank you. Brent Pinkston, do you have a comment? Okay. That's all our speakers. Horace, would you like to come up and present from your side, GMR 1-1?
Yes, sir. This should serve as the second of the public hearings for adoption of the pari-mutuel ordinance, along with the conditions that the board had asked us to set as part of the ordinance.
So is there a motion to move this forward?
I want to talk about this a little bit first.
Okay, Commissioner Strober.
So we did have a town hall out at the Bellevue Library to talk about this. And it seemed to be overwhelming that nobody that lived there wanted this business in that neighborhood. Now, to be fair, there were a lot of people that came up to me afterwards who did not speak in the meeting that were in favor of it. But there were just so many torches and pitchforks out there that they just didn't want to say anything. I still get the sense of the community, and I won't repeat some of the things I said there, but except for that, if it was my neighborhood, I would feel the same way. I couldn't feel any different about it. But I do think that there's some misconceptions about this business. And I did ask the sheriff at the urging of one of the residents that were there, I asked, and I haven't received it yet, because I just asked, I think, on Friday, for some information about the call-outs to to the current game room, the poker room out at the dog track to find out what kind of calls they've had to come out for and how often. So I'll get more information on that. I don't think the report I'm going to get is going to be a bad report. I don't think it will be. I think it's going to. I think the people out there are pretty okay with what's happening out there, because I agree with the gentleman that was up there who said that it is it's the same environment as a bowling alley. Now, I haven't been there myself, and I probably should go out there and look at that. But I go to bowling alleys, pretty frequently, and it's a great place for me to take the kids and stuff like that. We enjoy that environment, and so from that standpoint, I can't argue with that. But I'm listening to the folks that live out there, and I was elected to represent them. The folks, most of the folks I think that actually spoke to me that were for the gaming, and it was maybe half a dozen people out of the room, and I think it was reported there was nearly 100 people there. It was they told me they didn't live in that area. They didn't live there themselves. So I'm wondering, Meredith and William, if there's a way to continue to operate at the current location where you're at now. I think it was kind of premature to get up and leave and look for another place. So can you answer that? Is it possible to continue to work there without having to lease it? I know you're leasing it now. Is it possible to continue to operate there and kind of reestablish your presence there in the way that you have in the past?
Yes, Mayor.
So I'm not sure how feasible that is. The property has been sold and they're leasing it back. We've been looking for a location for several years now in the county, and it's brought us to this process. Just to be clear, the action you're taking today isn't, for this particular site. It's simply to add this as an approved use in the heavy commercial light industrial, which is the most intense zoning category. Someone could come in and put, a heavy industrial, I don't know if an asphalt plant or something like that could go there, but some heavy industrial, more obnoxious use could go on that site today without any board action. We're simply asking for the ability to have this recreational activity in the community with no adverse impacts to the neighbors. Unfortunately, I was at that town hall too, and the consensus of the crowd, there was a lot of objections, but a lot of it was also just traffic is bad throughout the county. People were complaining. It wasn't specific that this use does anything negative, and I think if you look at the existing use in the county, there's no actual evidence to show that the card room has done anything to negatively impact the community. I think the opposite is true.
So, a legal question. Under federal law, Escambia County is required to provide an area for this to operate. That's correct?
So I don't know that that's necessarily true, that there's a federal law that would require it to operate. It is a state licensed activity that has been allowed to operate in the county. Obviously, we would ask that you would allow it, but I'm not sure that there's a federal law that would require it.
Meredith.
Commissioner May, you have a comment?
So,
I thought Steve had his light on too.
In your current location, have y'all pulled any crime data or anything like that? Has there been any instances?
I have not. I don't know what the Sheriff's Department's record would show. I would feel confident saying that there's not a high number of calls. There's not, a lot of criminal activity generated. If you go out to the card room, you'll see the population tends to be older. I've been in there personally a few years back, and it was a bunch of gentlemen sitting around playing cards. There was nothing nefarious going on. It's not loud. There's no, impacts outside the building. It's simply a place for people to come and spend some recreational time together.
Thank you, Meredith. Commissioner
I'm ready to move the item when the discussion, when we get to that point, Mr. Chairman.
Berry? My comment, this is just a public hearing, so I don't have a problem with having the second public hearing. It doesn't mean we're going to move on it till the next meeting, so I think we should, I agree, I think we should have.
No, this is the second hearing, Commissioner. So this is,
For the adoption. This is
Yeah.
the second hearing for the adoption of the ordinance.
Oh, I missed that, okay.
yeah,
All right, well, there's a motion, is there a second?
yeah, I moved the item. I moved the 9:15.
I'll make a second.
Okay, please vote. All those, okay, Commissioner Stroberger, vote with 4, and Commissioner Stroberger opposed. Item moves forward.
Mr. Chairman. And Steve, I was in a similar situation all week, even after the vote, in residents believing they don't want certain things in their neighborhood. I think we have to look at our policies to be consistent. I mean, because at the end of the day, the citizens are the ones that live there. And so I think as we move forward, we really need to start having those conversations. And not that I'm against what happened last week when I was on a 4-1 and you're on a 4-1, but certainly, we have to have these meetings with the residents. You had a meeting with the residents after the first hearing. I never did have a meeting with the residents, but then we took the brunt of what the residents felt. I mean, which is unfair to us, and it's also unfair to those citizens. So I kind of feel your pain.
And Steve, this butts up to me as well. I've never heard a complaint on dog track. I mean, I've never heard a complaint out there, I've been out there when they had the dogs out there, and, I haven't been out there in years. Yeah. But anyway, motion passes 4-1. We'll move
Yeah,
on.
if I can just confirm, Mr. Stroberger, that you are a no. Okay, just for the clerk's sake, I want to make sure the minutes are correct.
All right, let's move on to GMR 1-2. I believe there's one speaker, Meredith. It's you. Would you like to speak on
All right,
1-2?
I assume she's speaking on behalf of the applicant. Is that the only speaker?
Yes,
Mr.
that
Chairman?
is.
Okay.
So
Are you moving it,
good?
Steve?
I moved the 916. I'm in support of it.
Okay, second. Yeah.
All right, please vote. 2-1. 1-2. Okay, so we have, motion passes 5-0. All right. Morris, let's move on to GMR 2.
Yes, sir. Then we have our, this 916.
All right. Mr. Chairman, do we have any
D-South?
speakers?
There's no
All right,
speakers.
I move item 1A and B, please.
Second.
All right, please vote. GMR 2-1 passes 5-0. Let me just we're up to the county administrative report, Wes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. There are 10 items on the technical public service consent agenda. There are no changes. Pete, please hold car 1-8 for a speaker.
Okay, do I have a motion to move the balance?
Move the balance.
Okay, please vote. Commissioner May? Motion passes 5-0. Our first speaker is Stan McDaniels on car 1-8.
Ooh, I may have overdressed a little bit today. I didn't see this particular item come up for the applications, so I don't know if it's possible that you hold this out and let some more applications be put in. I'd love to put in my application to be on that Housing Finance Authority. It's one of the many meetings that I have been the only person from the public at so many of these different boards that we have. So it is something I'm familiar with and would love to put my application in. Thanks.
Mr. Chairman, is that the only speaker?
That's the only speaker.
All right, I move the item A and B with a scrivener's error. I believe that Fred is Fred Gant, not Grant, but I presume that too. Yes. Yeah. Okay. Gotcha. Yeah. All right. So I move the item with that slight scrivener's correction.
Okay, is there a second?
Yes.
Okay, there's a motion, a second, please vote. Motion passes 5-0. We're at Budget and Finance.
Mr. Chairman, Wes, at one point, did we, on the opioids, when Levin did the lawsuit, did we ever get the $8 million that we're getting? Was there a time, see, back, we were on the lawsuit what Levin did with opioid, we were supposed to have gotten some money that came back to us. Whatever
Yeah,
happened to
There
that?
is money, it's still pending.
So we hadn't got the money yet?
We have gotten some monies, yes. I mean, I can just distribute to you all what's come in, what hasn't. I know that the clerk's office has been watching that as well. It is still pending because the litigation has had multiple layers to it with multiple parties. So there is still some litigation pending, but some monies have come in.
So we anticipated 8 million coming in?
I don't know offhand how much has come in total.
Okay, Wes, can you help Commissioner May out with that later?
Yeah, we'll look into it.
Okay. All right, let's proceed to budget and finance, Wes.
37 items in the Budget Finance Consent Agenda. Please hold card 2-28. And there are no other changes or no speakers.
Move the budget and finance the balance.
Okay, is there a second? Second. Please vote. Motion passes 5-0. I think the clerk is the one that wanted to discuss 228, is that correct, Pam?
228,
Yep.
broadband EREC. And I'll just give my questions to you, Mr. Kohler, though I'm not sure you were here for a lot of this. The asset was fully constructed in December of '23. That's what was signed off by EREC Connexicon. That's what was said on this board, so it was confirmed. So this amendment acts as if that didn't happen. And the construction did happen. So the construction happened, and according to Ryan Campbell, when I met with him a while back, the asset has pretty much been conveyed to the county. It's been waiting for the county to set up its network. So I think my ultimate question is this the right way to amend a contract that was basically a project was contemplated at completion? I think the contract ended September, maybe 1st, September 30th, 2024. Would this be the right way to do this? Because looking at that contract, you would think that it never happened, and it did. It's a very expensive asset that's already been constructed.
So
And-
it's all been paid for too, is that correct?
For the most part, it is. That's all we're waiting for is certain invoicing because they're trying not to overlap with the state because they can't. They have multiple grants. So we've probably paid 2.8. We've paid for all the fiber and all the fiber. Everything is complete. We probably have 650,000 in pending, and the county probably has invoices that we haven't seen yet. And my question is, with this very expensive asset, what was contemplated in the RFP didn't happen in the contract. The RFP was a fiber ring, a network. So all of public safety would be hooked to your network. Instead, what you got in the contract was fiber hung on poles that made it easy to get internet. So the county had the opportunity to get internet in the contract. So there's two bundles, right? One bundle comes to this substation, and it's for the Century project. So there might be 1,500 homes that are on it. I haven't gotten an update, but it was something less than that. The other bundle was for the county to get internet to its buildings. You got about 40 buildings up there or sites, and 26 of them were in the contract. So my question is, the asset has already been constructed. It has a value. So what is that value? Is this the right way to convey an asset? So you're giving up a right to use something, and probably your purchasing can tell you this. Maybe 5 or 6 months ago, you went out for bid and bid Unity Internet. I haven't looked at that whole contract to see if that's for Century, but now you're contracting with Unity to get internet. What is the game plan on this? Because you're giving up a very expensive asset, right to use it.
Okay, this sounds like,
I don't know, I thought
we
this
need a
was.
legal opinion on
I
that.
thought this was asked to be changed. I mean, this isn't something that came out of, I thought this is something that you asked to be edited in the contract.
Right, so we.
I don't know.
So I was told that from the previous two IT directors, Mr. McDonald and Mr. Clark, that they did not want to own dark fiber, which was fiber that would be unused and would sit there for potential growth at some point in the future, that we didn't want that, even though that was in the original ask. And I honestly thought this came from the clerk's office to
No.
true up our contract
This is not for me.
with the deliverables that we got, because we didn't want the dark fiber. We do have lit fiber, and we are still expecting to receive 2 years of free internet to those facilities that are in the footprint.
So if we, okay,
I don't know
I think
about
I
the
understand
Century
now,
piece.
but I was the only one that voted no because I wanted to come out of broadband. But my biggest concern is that EREC gets paid for the services that this board voted for.
I mean, I wouldn't say they've been majority paid either. They've been paid a fraction. I wouldn't say the majority's been paid. I don't think that's an accurate representation.
It's a 6.3 million contract. 2.8's been paid. About 650 is getting ready to be paid, and the
That's
county
almost half. That's
is.
just over half then. I wouldn't say, I mean, that's, I
Excuse
wouldn't.
me?
I said that's less than half that's been paid. I wouldn't say the majority's been
But the holdup
paid.
is the county, not the clerk.
Well, that wasn't what was asked. He just asked, was the majority paid? You said the majority's been paid. The majority's not been paid. If this is not needed, then we can drop it. I don't care. I thought this was the product
I
of a
didn't know.
request from over there.
When I asked the county administrator and the county attorney at my weekly meeting, I was under the assumption, and Madam Clerk, that you wanted this. So if it's not
Yeah.
needed, I'm fine with dropping it.
I thought this was necessary as a true-up. We can absolutely drop it.
Commissioner Berry, you okay with
I
that?
guess my only comment
Okay.
was, I've
All right.
not talked to any of you, so I have no idea how this would be something the clerk needed.
Okay, Mr. Chairman, I move to drop it, and it's,
Okay.
we have a second,
And
so
there's
we
a
can
second.
take action.
So Pam, good point. There's a motion, a second, please vote. Motion's dropped 5-0. Thank you. All right. That's it for, we're up to car discussion, right, Wes?
Yes, that's correct. Car 3-1 is concerning appointments to Pensacola Scheme Development Commission. I would like to note that I did send a forwarded email from Tom Thompson that he has removed his name for consideration. And so that just leaves two candidates.
I have a comment on this, board, if you would entertain this before we vote. That bothers me when we have to waive our policy. I know I think Mr. Peden's in the audience, and we have qualified candidates. Can we go back and change that so we just vote on people and we don't have to waive the policy? Because I just don't like doing that. You know, and when we have a policy, if we have qualified people and the board decides collectively they want them, I think we should just let them move on. But I don't like that we have to waive the policy and then we have folks that are qualified to serve on these boards. So,
Mr. Chairman, we can bring a policy update to the board for
okay,
consideration.
please, that would be helpful to me. All right, please vote, everyone, on this. Well, we just did it with TDC and, and we had several. Right. Okay.
Mr. Chairman,
Yep.
we have four votes to reappoint Mr. Peden and one vote to appoint Mr. Salas.
Move to appoint David Peden to the PDC.
Is there a second?
I'll make a second.
Okay, please vote. Motion passes 5-0. I thought I saw Mr. Peden in the audience. Did he leave? Okay, well, congratulations. All right, I think we're at the county's attorney report.
Car 3-2.
Oh, as I was, yeah.
Discussion, TDT funds for Chappie James Memorial.
Okay, so Allison, you want to lead on this, or do you want me to start the discussion?
I do know that the TDC did take up the issue of the Chappie James funding with TDT dollars at its last meeting. Ms. Hoffberger is your appointee to the TDC. There was significant discussion at that meeting, including the request of the chairman of the TDC that there be a letter sent to the Department of Revenue, which is a provision in the TDT state statute that does say that if the TDC believes TDT dollars are being misspent, that is an avenue that they are supposed to follow. I think that at the request of your appointee, it was pointed out that it's premature, that this hasn't gotten far enough along in the documentation route in order for the TDT to actually be encumbered at this point. And so that is coming back to you all essentially for discussion. I don't know if this came up in your meeting, Mr. Chairman, yesterday, but I have not seen anything come back from the city with regards to an amendment or change to the stewardship agreement with this foundation. I have not seen anything that addresses the promotion of tourism. I do have a meeting with the city attorney scheduled for tomorrow afternoon.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, Commissioner May.
It's black and white for me. It's real simple. I mean, the three of you have not been on this board this long. I've been a long advocate for supporting the Chappie James Museum. I have one simple question to the clerk and to the attorney. Is it legal? You know, and we've already voted on it. And if it's legal and the clerk's going to pay it, I don't know why we're continuing to have a discussion about it. And people say, well, you know, it's been there for a long time. It's been discussed for 5 years. This is not something that's new. This has been a discussion forever. And it's fair, if we're not going to do it, to tell that group we're just not going to do it. You know, but if it's legal and we voted on it and we're going to do it, then at some point we got to move on. So it's simple to me, to our legal and to the clerk. Is it legal? Clerk, if we process it, are you going to pay it? I mean,
I'll
it's that
second
simple.
your comment because I will tell you this. I went back to our county attorney. I read Chairman Bear's letter, which was well-written. I'm not an attorney. Allison gave me some confidence that even if we didn't get it through an open museum, which there is some concern, that there could still go through in a venue if they change their stewardship. Is that correct? We had this conversation?
I do think that venue is a possible funding choice subsection under the statute. There are some pieces of that still need to be addressed, and an advocate for this funding needs to make sure that those boxes are checked.
What's our risk by just moving forward, kind of what Commissioner May said, and seeing what happens with FDOR?
So in a worst-case scenario, let's say the TDC moves forward with reporting it to DOR, and in a worst-case scenario, DOR agrees that it's not an appropriate use of the funding. At the very least, I think you should expect that you may be obligated to repay the TDT with general funding sources, and you can always, when you're dealing with the state, be at risk of having state funding shut down or turned off. That could be state grants, state funding sources, FDOT monies, whatever.
So
we don't write one check here. The clerk has held up many other things within her opinion. I mean, the bottom line is the clerk going to write the check? And if the clerk is not going to write the check, then you know there may be other options through LOST, or rather it may be through community block grant money. I mean, through our discretionary. I mean, if it's the will of this board to do it, there's a way for us to do it. You know, and listen, I'm not questioning the clerk nor the legal on what's legal, what's not. I don't know. I don't care. I'm not writing the check. I do believe in the concept. I believe in honoring Chappie James, and you know I've been consistent with that for the last, maybe longer than that, maybe the last 6 years. So I didn't mean to cut you off, Pam. But go ahead.
Madam Clerk, will you make a comment on this for us, if you wouldn't mind?
My comments haven't changed, and that is, I did envision this as an open-air type museum. It doesn't mean it's an absolute museum by definition of statutes. It is a venue. Venues bring people. It promotes tourism. History promotes tourism. We have the walk, the downtown walk with veterans. We have a small Chappie James Museum, the home, I believe it is. You've got the walk over the 3 Mile Bridge. You've got the visitor center there. It's supposed to do a walk of history, and that will bring tourism. What's most important is that this board is going to promote it as tourism. They believe it to be tourism. There's exact words in the statutes about tourism. And in fact, Commissioner Hoffberger, you and I have talked about tourism on other venues, and it is the definition of this board as to what is tourism. I doubt you're going to lose state grants over this. If it's found that you are wrong, I am wrong, but the repayment will have to happen to TDC if we are wrong collectively. But I do believe this is a tourism expenditure because I've listened to all of you talk about bringing tourism in. This is a venue, a plaza, an open-air museum. It's going to have our history.
So,
That
Madam
is
Clerk,
your
if we went
definition.
forward, and I didn't mean to cut you off, we went forward with what we are now, you would pay with our vote? You would go forward with that?
If you believe this is bringing in tourism, if you are going to promote it as tourism,
You still have some pieces that need to be dealt with.
I understand,
and
but
that's your part to finish those pieces, because
Well, I
if
think
you
it's the
travel.
city's part,
If you
myself.
well, if you travel under venue, what is required? Because if you travel under venue, I believe you can write a check to a not-profit or to the city. I would question whether you need that agreement from the city or the type of agreement you would need from the city. I just haven't seen anything to
Well,
even
Mike,
provide guidance.
why don't we just continue on as we have and let Allison meet with Adam this week and see if they can,
I'd
see how
like to
that
do
meeting goes.
that. I mean, well, do you have a comment, Commissioner?
I
know
do.
you're
I
on
just
the
want to
board.
add a little bit of color to the situation. Because of what happened at the TDC meeting, I said we would bring this back up for discussion because we as a board make a decision with the best decision that we can with information provided. I felt like after the last board meeting, we were provided additional information. If we vote to move forward with things as is, they will be sending the letters, so we do need to prepare for whatever the fallout or the outcomes may be for that. So I just want that to be on everyone's radar
So
and be
Ashley,
transparent.
there were votes to send a letter to DOR at TDC?
Oh, yes.
Okay.
I had to make a substitute motion not to.
But actually, I mean, and I get it. I mean, we have a whole legal team. We have a clerk. Our clerk is saying that it's good. I assume our attorney, I think, is saying that it's good.
Yeah.
I don't know how.
Well, and the mayor told
Department
me
of Revenue
yesterday he's
would-
willing, if it comes to a stewardship agreement, if that's the linchpin, he'll work with us on that. So I think I agree with Commissioner Berry. We ought to move forward. And
I mean, listen, I said at the last meeting, Commissioner Hopperger, if we had to take other funding sources, if we had to take 500 from each one of our discretionaries, I don't think anybody's encouraging you to do anything that's right, and I don't think that we need, and I know you represent us on the TDC, so we certainly don't want to be at odds with appointees who are volunteering on the board. I just want to find the resolution, as I've tried to do on most issues on this board, is come to, a 5-0 consensus on where we can be. But I've been very clear that I support it. It passed, I mean, I guess 4-1 at our last meeting, or 5-0. If there's any gray area, then let's clear it up.
Well-
But I mean, I think that it's the will of this board to honor it. I mean, I'd like, quite frankly, what the clerk said about a museum. I mean, I think Rosamund Johnson should be him of Johnson Beach. I think that there are other things that can be added to this that can kind of make it something that we all can be proud of for our community.
And I think if you go to the City of Pensacola's site, or if anyone walks right out our front door, there's a red line that goes to open air. I walked it. To scan your phone, they advertise it. It goes all over the city. This could obviously be added to that very easily.
And Mike, I mean, it's one of the things, when you asked me last week, what did I want to for committee of the whole, I simply said, I want a meeting with the mayor and the city council in an open dialogue meeting like this to address Baptist, to address the museum, to address, American Magic, to talk about all those things that, quite frankly, it does no one any good for one-on-one meetings, with individuals of the mayor, and there's different stories and different viewpoints. I mean, I'm not afraid to get on the mic in public and put it on the record. When we got closed doors, ain't nobody putting what they should put on the record. And these are all issues that we come back. It's just like Outline Field 8. And we'll be going here in perpetuity. And that's what we'll be doing with the Shappy James, going back and forth in perpetuity. It's not ready for prime time. If it ain't ready for prime time after this many years, when will it be ready?
Sorry.
Mr. Hopperger, and then we'll
I will
go-
say, when I met with the mayor, he was an advocate of having it built. His concern was the maintenance of that. And so he did have an agreement with the nonprofit that they would maintain maintenance on it for 2 years, and that was contingent upon his agreement to allow them to put it in that location. So I believe that the mayor and the city are supportive of this. I don't think that that's the case.
Please don't think that I said the mayor did support it. No, no. As far I've had conversations with the mayor, he's told me he'd support it. So
Same thing.
That's not my point. My point is to just, for the benefit of those who are listening, the groups, that we should have a joint meeting to talk with the mayor and the city council, so we can, because if we can all individually talk to the mayor, I mean, I think probably each of us have been down to City Hall this past week individually, but we should have those conversations. I saw you there. Yeah. We all have to get our time with the mayor, but collectively we should have the meeting. I'm sorry, Steve.
I just want to say, I don't think we need to have another meeting with those guys or anybody else. We are the local governing body. We get to decide these things. We get to decide. And I've met with the city. I met with DC a couple of Fridays ago. We are supportive of this project. The county is, and the city is too. He's assured me that he's supportive of this project.
But it's still have to go to city council for a vote.
Yeah, but I'm not worried about that. We will find a subsection that we can comply with. We can do that. That's not hard to do. But we are the local governing body. We are the ones that are going to decide. I don't want another meeting on this. I'm not reconsidering my vote on this.
So for legality reasons, should the nonprofit have to put together something that is more of a picture of what they're asking for, be it a plaza or a venue space versus what they're asking for as a monument?
Yeah. So my concern is the subsection does matter. It does matter as far as how you get there. And the concern with the venue is that the statute's not clear on whether or not construction of a venue is anticipated by the statute, and I think that's what you should anticipate Mr. Baer's argument is going to be, is you can promote something, a venue, all day long with TDT, but you shouldn't build a venue with TDT. That's his argument, and that's where I anticipate this going. I mean, a legitimate... We don't know.
Allison, the other thing is in
doesn't say.
that statute
There
it
is
says
a public infrastructure piece that the city
yeah,
could
it says
take and run
pedestrian
with.
infrastructure that can be built.
There
That's
is a
in there as
public,
well.
yes, the subsection does matter. And a legitimate choice to this board is to say that you rescind your previous decisions about the subsection that applies, and you could ask the Attorney General for an opinion if you can construct a venue with TDT. That may be one of those bureaucratic hurdles that we don't want to have to address, but it is a choice that this
Why would we have to do that? Why couldn't we just go ahead and get an Attorney General report and just, it's where it is? There's not going to be any money that's going to be expended to wait on the Attorney General's response back. I'm just asking. Why can't we?
You can, but I think you've already heard the TDC intends that it's going to file a complaint with the Department of Revenue. So I
Well,
think
we're
you
still
should
waiting on the Attorney General's report, and if the Attorney General
We've
signs
gotten
off-
2 letters from the Attorney General about this. The current choice by this board, I believe, is venue, but you're looking to the city to figure out what the arrangement or ownership and maintenance and all that is going to be, which I get, especially if you're traveling under the museum subsection, that's extremely important. If it's public infrastructure, that's totally important. If we're going to try to construct a venue with TDT, one legitimate option is to ask for an Attorney General's opinion specific to that subject.
But Allison,
I
we
don't
can,
wanna do that.
send this to the city, and if it gets hooked up, it's on them.
And I'm meeting with the city attorney tomorrow. I mean, he's not the policymaker over there, but I can at least get some insight.
Commissioner Stroberger, you have one more comment?
Yeah,
or-
I don't want an Attorney General's opinion on this. I don't think we need an Attorney General's opinion on this. Did you want to say something? Go ahead, please.
He didn't, but we know.
Ken Pyle, 13661 Perdido Key Drive, Secretary of the Chappie James Foundation. I'd like to share a little bit of information, maybe help clarify some of the statements that are being made here. The current stewardship agreement between the city and the foundation has us doing the maintenance on the structure in perpetuity, not just 2 years. It's forever. The city would be doing its normal park maintenance, blowing off leaves, washing steps, doing that kind of stuff. Annually or as needed, we will wash the airplane, we'll clean the statue, we will have an endowment, and we will be raising funds to support that ongoing maintenance responsibility. I think...
Can I ask you a question, please? I didn't even know.
Pardon?
Can I ask you a question? How much do you have in that endowment now if you're going to do the maintenance of it? I mean, because...
We believe after construction, we'll have $250,000 at 5% interest. That provides about $12,000 a year, and that would be sufficient to wash the airplane and any other maintenance we would
And that would be
anticipate.
private donations? Because
Pardon?
that would be private donations, because I'm sure that you couldn't take the leftover from TDC and government money to put in an endowment. That would be private money?
I don't know that that's not allowed, but
I don't know
yes.
either, but I
It is
what
not
I would
allowed.
say-
TDC is on a reimbursement basis.
It is allowed?
It is not.
Not.
It's not
like the
allowed. I mean,
Memorial Park.
I mean,
No,
the
but we
question would
have-
be actually, if Ken, I'm sorry.
But
know,
you have more, you have private donations too.
Yes.
You have private
Okay,
donations.
I mean, that's what I was
We've
asking.
raised
One
it.
at a
time, folks,
Proof of
okay.
those funds. Go ahead,
Okay.
Ken.
Did you have a comment, Commissioner Hoffman?
Commissioner May had asked, could they use it to clean the statue? And I said it has to be used on a reimbursement basis.
Thank you.
Correct. Yes, sir.
When I was in discussion with you folks, you're treating it the same way as the Memorial Veterans Park, right? It's going to be treated the exact same way as Veterans Park.
That is the goal. We're trying to get there with the mayor. Yes.
Okay. Am I hearing that the board just wants to move forward, or and this was a discussion item? Is that what I'm hearing?
I mean, I don't know that the board's, from my point of view, and this is not my issue. This is much more all four of y'all much more involved, but the board took action. I don't know if the board has to take any more action.
I agree.
I mean, we took action, and Allison's going to meet with Adam, and we have a board meeting. We have another board meeting in 9 days. Just a week from Thursday. So I guess if something comes out of that, that's substantial. I don't know when the next TDC meeting is. I mean, it's
Mr. Chairman.
I think it's the 18th or 19th of April. Is that?
It
is
is.
a
It's
Tuesday?
the third week in April. I'm not sure the
Yeah. So
exact date.
we have.
It's the third week in April. I'll
So
look
we
it
have
up.
another meeting of us before then. So I don't know that we need to do anything today. Just
Well, I'm willing to move on if unless there's any more
No,
discussion.
I don't know yet. Yeah, I mean, the only thing I would add, if there's not, and I'm ready to move on. As far as I'm concerned, we didn't have to talk about it today. I mean, the clerk has said she's going to write the check. I mean, we voted on it. We go. I would just, if the Attorney General, and I hear Commissioner Strohberger doesn't want that opinion, but, I mean, I've been around long enough to know we probably about to get 2, 3, 4, 5 opinions because things change unexpectedly or expectedly. So, get the legal assurance that we can do whatever we do. I mean, I don't care about the political fallout, but just as long as it's the legal ramifications is what's always my concern. But also, Commissioner Strohberger, if we have the will to do this, I think we should be telling Stephen to look at what's our alternative funding. If this didn't work, what would we do? Because we made a decision to do it. It's not a question of whether or not we're going to do it. The question is exactly where the funding's going to come. Rather, there's going to be, $8 million from, in my opinion, it's going to come with opioid money. There's going to be money eventually when we sell Outline Field 8. I mean, we all have LOSC discretionary money. There's community block grant money that we probably better start using because it's all going to dry up. I think that there are opportunities for funding that we can look at if this doesn't work. I support you on doing it, and if it doesn't work,
Well, I don't think we need to plan for the worst. I don't think we need to do anything.
I just want to have a backup in case it don't. That's all. That's my opinion. So I'm not anticipating the worst. I'm just saying we should always have a backup plan. I mean, because what we don't want to do, here's the bad stewardship that we've fallen into. We're 0 for the season in all these lawsuits. And we do not need to get in. We don't win. That's just the reality of it. I mean, if we decide to fight our own arm of who we've appointed in a lawsuit, the citizens lose because we're going to spend a boatload of money in legal fees to get the result. Whether we get the statute or whether we don't, we still lost because we're still going to spend taxpayer dollars. Whether the TDC is spending the dollars, that's tax dollars. Whether we're spending it's tax dollars. I'm trying to find the resolution without having a court battle.
Well, I have no interest in lawsuits either.
I just don't want to. And if that's the threat that they're going to find a lawsuit, I mean, any good lawyer will tell you to try to mediate before you go to court. I mean, any decent lawyer would tell you that because you're going to just spend money in court fees that are not necessary if we don't have to. So, but with that, I agree with Commissioner Berry. Steve, we voted on it. It is what it is.
I am too. So, Allison, go ahead.
Just clarification, the next TDC meeting is April 15th. So if there's anything you want me to relay, please let me know at this meeting.
So I think where we are, Madam Attorney, is where we voted. You need to work with the city, and I think I'm okay going forward with that and dropping this at this point.
Have you worked with the nonprofit too, Allison, in verification of funds and verification of abilities and all those things? At some point, someone will have to do that.
All right. Unless there's anything else, let's move on to the county's attorney report.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. There are 3 items for action on the county attorney's report. I can answer any question.
All right. Did we need to confirm the Waste Services Director?
We already did that at the beginning.
Yeah, we've already taken care of that one.
I knew we met him. Okay, we did
Yeah, we
confirm
voted
that?
at the beginning because he had to leave. Sorry about that. I bypassed that because we already voted. So let's go to the, go ahead, Madam Attorney.
I move the county attorney's report.
We have speaker on 1-2.
Okay.
Okay.
I'll second the balance then, if you want to do that.
And we have speaker on 1-3.
Oh, shucks. Okay.
So,
No.
1-2, Charles Luther, if you'd like to come up.
Mr. Chair, I'm here to ask that this board refrain from sending the letter to Senator Don Gates and the committee that he oversees in the Florida Senate. The letter that you have, and Mr. Chair, that you have signed, contains unfounded accusations against Mr. Yenner, one of these being the age-old accusation of anti-Semitism. The letter's acclaimed, quote, anti-Semitic commentary, end quote, consisted of the following. And this is Yenner's quote on his X account in referencing one of the Trump administration, I believe it was a confirmation hearing. He said, I looked at the bench, the Democrat bench, for national leadership or for reforming the party. Pretty slim pickings. Now, the context is what is missed altogether. You missed it in your letter. The Save UWF group missed it completely. And why did they miss it? Well, number one, they don't care to get it because it doesn't agree with their agenda to get the context. The context is Mr. Yenner was speaking about the Josh Shapiro debacle that went on last year. And we all know, we all remember that. The governor of Pennsylvania, Josh Shapiro, he's a Jew. And he was the leading pick for Kamala Harris. And it's obvious, even to many Democrats that are very well known and in the media, obvious he wasn't picked because he was a Jew, because of all of this pro-Palestinian hype that's been going on. And so Yenner was commenting in regard to that when he made that comment concerning white non-Jews. He goes through, he says the 6 straight, speaking of those Democrat leaders, the 6 straight white non-Jews are Kelly, who is 60, Murphy, 51, Coons, 61, Himley, 45. He gives their ages. He gets down to Fetterman, 55 is his age. He says, though the 3 male Jews under 60 could also fall into the category of party reformers. That's right there on his X account. Now, he has, contrary to your letter, Mr. Chair, he's denied the claim on his X account in late February, so this is not even really recent. This has been up. And here's the quote from Scott Yenner, that only non-Jewish white men are viable leaders.
Mr. Luther, can you wrap up your thoughts?
Yes. That only non-Jewish white men are viable leaders, and clarified that he, quote, was saying that Democrats would not abide having Jews in leadership roles based on the Josh Shapiro experience. He said any honest reader
Mr. Luther, thank you for your comments. I've given you more than your time. I appreciate your comments.
You engaged the Save UWF. Why will you not engage me, Mr. Chair?
I gave you 3 minutes. Thank you for your comments.
I understand your position. It's sad.
It's the board's position.
Thank you, Chairman.
You're welcome. So we got 1 and 2. We're at 1-3. Meredith Bush. I'm going to make a comment on 1-3, but do you want to come up and present that, and then we'll just move the balance?
Thank you, Meredith Bush, 125 East Intendencia. I am counsel for the Children's Trust and just wanted to be available for any questions. I would ask that you note the 45-day deadline for payment was on the 23rd. We would ask that that be extended until such time as you've heard the exemption request.
Meredith, I don't understand this. I sat down, you weren't at our meeting, but this board last year voted 5-0, and the Children's Trust paid for this. We're talking less than 5%. They can't pay for infrastructure, they can only pay for programs. The trust fund didn't pay the first 2 previous years, and I talked to Madam Attorney about that. I don't know why. But we believe, and I'll have Allison confirm this, I sat down with Kristen and Ms. Cannon, and the county's position, we clearly believe we have statutory authority to ask for this money. Do you agree or disagree with that as their represent for the
You
ECT?
absolutely have authority to ask for the current fiscal year, yes.
So, but the previous years we don't?
I believe there's argument as to the past due or the retroactive years as to how far, a county or a taxing authority could come back and say you have to pay without there having been any attempts to collect those during those fiscal years.
Okay, so I'm getting obviously we're going to be dealing with this every year for an exemption. Is that the current plan?
I believe every year that you ask, my understanding, and again, I, don't necessarily speak for Lindsay Cannon. I am the representative to the board, and I wasn't in that meeting. But yes, that the board would request the exemption. And again, it's not that the money wouldn't go to you at all. It's that an interlocal agreement would be entered so that those funds could be spent on county programming for children.
The problem with the interlocal agreement, and I'm very passionate about this because Commissioner May and I have some of the poorest areas in the county. And for example, the basketball thing that they wanted to do on Navy Boulevard, we could have used that CRA dollars for infrastructure for them, but they couldn't do it because they did programs and they moved it down to Palafox. So the poorest school, the failingest school in the county was left behind. And I've explained this, and there's 4 counties in the state currently that use the CRA dollars. We're asking for very little amount of money, very little out of the ECT for sidewalks, for parks, that can go to the poorest communities. And I just don't understand why I have to beat this drum every time. I can't even understand why we keep doing this. But I'll vote for the public hearing, but I will be adamantly opposed to not asking for that money. Absolutely opposed to it.
Mayor, yeah, thanks. And Mike, I agree. And I think I go back all the way back to what I was just talking about with Chappie James. If we end up in litigation, and I serve on the, full disclosure, I serve on the Children's Trust. If we end up in litigation is still, at the end of the day, taxpayers paying for it, as we've done so often. I would like to find a resolution. I concur that, as I sit on the trust board, and I've said this, there's not an agreement with the city at this point, correct, Meredith?
There's no formal agreement. The city has not requested the funds.
Right. So it's the same situation. It probably should be done in tandem. And quite frankly, we're getting beat up as a county about, as you said, a small portion of the money, and there's still not an agreement with the city. And my thought, you and I both serve CRAs that are connected to the city. I mean, there's just an opportunity to do good for children and do good for the community if we can collectively come together and work together to make sure. And because I agree with you. I've heard it all from the advocates, and I'm a big programmer. I'm probably the biggest programmer. My entire career has been in community centers. And I believe in it. I'd rather be in a community center than sitting here. A child that's not safe is not going to be programmed. If a child is afraid of getting shot, he's not coming to a community center. If he doesn't have a sidewalk to get to the community center, he's not going to walk to the community center. And so it's not one that's more important than the other one. They're all important. What's more important, your fingers or your hand, or your elbow or your shoulder? It's all important, and we got to figure out, in my opinion, how to work that out. I can just tell you, if we end up in litigation, I think it would be irresponsible of the trust, irresponsible of us. I think it would be bad legal advice if either attorney advised, because if they were really paying attention, this may be mute in about 15 months. There's a higher probability of not having a CRA than the probability of anyone winning if we go to court. And so to me, we just got to make sure that all those things are in consideration as we have this conversation, because the taxpayers are going to be the losers. Quite frankly, I don't even know why, and I serve on the trust. I don't even know why we're bringing it back, because we don't really know. I mean, it should be paused anyway and get the money, because no one even knows if there's going to be a CRA this time next year.
Sure.
So, thanks, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you for comments. Commissioner Hopper?
Allison, I have a question, and I just want to confirm I have my information correct. So this is for the previous tax year that we have just invoiced them. They're asking that we waive that.
This is the 2024 tax year.
They paid
And-
23.
And they paid 23.
They paid 2023. It was like $449,000 or something like that. They paid it in full. They did not pay the 2021 or the 2022 tax years. We did invoice them for those.
Okay. And I agree with Commissioner May. I want to stay out of court, and I believe that it is Children's Trust position that they are not going to pay the previous ones. And in your defense, we didn't send a tax bill. So I would also not call the county and ask if I owed money. So I understand that. Is there a world in which we forgive the first 2 years and then we move forward and collect taxes going forward now that we're all in open communication?
But actually, do you know the way we collect taxes? If I don't pay my taxes for 2 years, I get them all the time. They call it tax deed sales, and then it's a tax certificate, and then people lose their land.
But they generally send that to you in the mail and you receive it, though.
Yeah, but my understanding, and I think this is where Allison needs to speak up, we truly believe we're on high ground for where we are now. The question is the previous years, Allison, because we didn't ask for it in advance. That's the foggy area, right?
Right. I mean, clearly, they're going to argue that we sat and waited. That's their argument. I mean, I would assume 2021 and 2022.
And actually, I can lean your way. For what Lindsay has told me, and she obviously is just executive director, that she would be willing to send this money over to the county for our programs. I mean, the reality of it is we had over 1,000 kids from all 5 districts that applied for our summer employment program, with only the possibility of employing about 150 or 175. If we're going to use that money, I mean, I'm with Commissioner Kohler, quite frankly, on all the CRA. But if we're going to talk about those previous years and they admit that they should pay it, there should be a way where it benefits programs that's happening at the county. I mean, quite frankly, the city gets over $1 million in Children's Trust money. A lot of organizations get a lot of money. We don't know our program, and we do a lot of programs here. You're getting ready to do a ribbon cutting today on a program. We do a lot of programming, and so if we want to reach out an olive branch and work, I mean, I think that's something that our attorney and our administrator could reach out and bring forth. That would be acceptable to Commissioner Kohler. That would be acceptable to everybody else.
Yeah, I think y'all know where I am on this. I'll be by myself, because I think...
No, you're not by yourself, Mike.
Well, what I'm saying is, if you look at Maslow hierarchy, the bottom level is security. The sheriff supported this money. The top at self-actualization is programs. When you go to the neighborhoods like you and I share, these kids, they just want a park, man. They want a sidewalk. They want lights.
Oh, Guthrie Highway alone. Yeah.
Right.
Green Street.
And we're not
Green
talking
Street.
about half. We're talking less than 5% to go to the poorest communities in the county. I'm willing to have that fight with ECT. I just can't even believe we're having this conversation. But this is a public hearing, and we should have it.
No. I respect exactly where you are, Commissioner.
All right, so I move all 3 items on the county attorney's report.
Is there a second?
Second.
Please vote. Motion passes 5-0. Lumen, I think we're done with...
Yeah, and listen, I mean, obviously it's going to be on the agenda, and it's 11 o'clock, and I know there's been a request, Mike, I don't understand all the tipping fees and all the realities of where it is. I know that, the largest relocation of a Superfund site was in my district at the Creole plant. The next largest employment relocation in my district was Baptist Hospital. I'm moving out a historic neighborhood, quite frankly, a historic African-American neighborhood that borders North Hill, which is historically probably the highest medium income district in all of Escambia County. I get to represent from the county, North Hill, as well as Morris Court. And so these 54 acres are important. It's my understanding the mayor has gotten money from the state, some contingent on whether or not we move. There's a sale with Baptist. I don't understand all that's going on. Spoke with the mayor and with Baptist and said that I certainly would bring this as a discussion item to talk about it. Respect you as a chair that we don't want to do that today, but just want to put it on the radar. I only represent, one vote that represents my district, but I just wanted to make sure that we had a clear understanding. I know Casey is here. If people had questions to Baptist, and I look, and Steve, Commissioner Stroberg, I respect, it wasn't that I was just saying Chappie James when I said I wanted a meeting with City Council, because it's all these issues that
I know
I
you
think
want
that,
it done as much as I do.
right.
I know.
Yeah. So I just want to get those issues, because, I take issue if someone will, say that Commissioner Calder said one thing, Commissioner Holberger said one, Commissioner, we all have our individual rights to say whatever we want to say. We don't have the power to make a vote unless there's 3 people in agreement. So I can say whatever I want to say. I have the freedom to say what I want to say. And my opinion is my opinion. If I get support, I get support. If we don't, I lost the vote last week. I wasn't upset when we walked out. Walked out and we're still friends. But I'm going to advocate what I believe in. And so, there's no secret that I've worked with the mayor, I've worked with Representative Andrade, I've worked with Casey, and said that my position was to support the improvements as it relates to that neighborhood at Baptist Hospital. I've probably been in 90% of the meetings that they have had. I do know that there are questions, the amount of the bids, the participation, how much money they got from Tallahassee, what they want to do. I just want to make sure that before we come to the next meeting, that we all get those questions answered, so we won't have to do an outline till late.
Okay. Thank you,
Thank you,
Commissioner.
Mr. Chairman.
Commissioner Berry?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. And, we can take up the discussion next week. I will say one thing that's different than when the item might have been discussed a little bit last year. I think there was a presumption that we would be able to use local option sales tax for that, and that is not the case. So as, those of us and speaking to myself as well as to my colleagues that, may be interested in, employee raises and things that have to do with collective bargaining agreements, there's no way to extract $2 million from our general fund and not have an impact to the potential for employee raises, as well as discussions about collective bargaining. $2 million out of general fund is a lot different than $2 million out of local option sales tax fund. And if there's any unhappiness or presumption that we haven't been supportive to Baptist Hospital, we just supported a refinance of bonds about a month ago, that as they were requested by us. Did that 5-0, I believe. I didn't say anything. But the truth is, when we first did the debt placement, that's not the terms that were in that debt placement originally. Those haven't been met. There was $50 million, give or take. I don't have the item with me today. I didn't know we'd be discussing it. I will have it next week. But there was a schedule in that debt placement that outlined what those funds were going to be used for. It outlined, I believe, $50 million for redevelopment, including the demolition of the current facility within that original debt placement. I know things didn't work out. That is what the schedule says, Ms. Garvin. You can shake your head but that is what our item that we passed in the minutes, that's how it outlines it. Additionally, about 3 years ago, we instituted an MSBU district that's benefiting Baptist Hospital to the tune of $13 or $14 million annually. So I think our board has been very supportive of Baptist Hospital, very supportive of initiatives. That's $13 or $14 million that was not, it's not a misrepresentation to say that is literally new money that they're able to pull down as a function of the action that the board took. And that's annual revenue. So if there's unhappiness with perhaps unwillingness of our board to come off of $2 million of general fund money, I don't understand that.
Just for the record, I love Baptist Hospital. I trained there. I taught them TNCC for all the hospitals. I was on the health authority when they came, and we were very receptive. And I appreciate the board giving the extra $40 million. I had a very passionate discussion with Casey and the mayor, and I guess that's the best way to say it yesterday. And they want it, but here's the problem for me, and I just got to put, it's not responsible for me as a commissioner. And I'll tell you, I live in the world of facts. I told you what I'd try to do, and I'll see if we can get there. But the city has a $311 million budget for 55,000 people. The county has a $798 million budget for 330,000 people. We don't get help with transit. We don't get help with the jail. We don't get help with beach nourishment. We don't get help with animal shelter. And all these things, we have to balance. If we take that money out of the general fund, you may not have to money for the beach renourishment. You may not have your firehouse. The million you want for Ingleside, it's just painful. We don't have the funds. There's too many competing interests to give $2 million out of the general fund.
I was told I couldn't have money from the general fund for beach renourishment. Has that changed?
No, I'm just saying they wanted 9.3 Mike Burns.
Okay. Well, they told me I couldn't pull it from the general fund, so if you had a pot of money, I was going to take it.
I don't. But my point is, we have a lot of responsibilities in the county that challenge us every time we sit up here. And the thing is, to give $2 million out of the general fund is just not responsible to me. If we can help Baptists in a way with tipping fees, maybe, Wes, but what I'm being told by you and Dawn, that's a no-go. Is that true? That's true. I went back and asked yesterday after we had our conversation, which I told you I would. So we'll bring it up as a discussion.
Yeah, I mean, in all fairness, I talked to the mayor, and he certainly, wanted to hold off to the 3rd so he could be here to have this conversation. And I would say, and Casey's here, she can speak for herself, that we're not going to give money to Baptists, that we're going to give money, we're going to partner with the city, and I don't know how that looks like. I mean, if I have responsibility, then I would have authority. If I give my money, then I would have input. I don't. Just as I just said about the Chappie James, I don't know what the funding source is, and if it can't be general fund, are there different alternatives that we can? And if not, then it's just not. We bring it for a vote. I'm going to make a motion. If I get a second, I do. If I don't, I don't. And we'll move forward. I know that this is. When I look at projects that are significant, that are life-changing, Baptist Hospital is a project that's going to affect all people. Quite frankly, when they redevelop it, the constituents that live there now, just like all the other projects that we've done, probably are going to have, not going to have, real opportunity to come back and live, unless there's some type of governmental influence to make sure that it maintains attainable. If we just give it out to a developer, I just don't know if it will maintain their character. Didn't want to have a detailed conversation. It was just my understanding that, it was presented that, it's not on the agenda. It's not been talked about. It's been talked about for 5 years. It's no different than Chappie James. You know what I mean? Someone had to be living under a rock if they were not familiar with Baptist Hospital. It's been blighted. It's been gone for over 12 months. It has the potential to become a place for blight and destruction and havoc. I'm surprised now that it's not. At some point, the city will have to do something, Baptists will have to do something, or we'll have to do something, because it's going to become infested, with undesirable things. I mean, whether it be rodents or whatever. So at some point, we got to have this conversation, and we can't do anything. We just can't do anything. But I just want to have that conversation at the next meeting, and hopefully we'll get the answers. I don't know. I know Donald's leaving and Andrew's coming in. I've heard the tipping fees are $2 million, the tipping fees are $3 million, the tipping fees are, how do I know? Someone project and tell me. I'd like for my waste management guy to tell me how much the tipping fees are really going to be.
Well, that's
So
what I was going to highlight with you.
Is.
We don't even know the RFP. And we can't get it till the 3rd. There's no way.
And that's right. We shouldn't even have this conversation on the 3rd. And that's the point of putting in the meeting. And I know that there are other meetings with people saying that, it should be on the day. I think it was great stewardship. And I would say it was great leadership and stewardship to only have a discussion and bring this as an action item. And so if someone differs with me on that, that's their opinion. So
okay.
I'm
well, I
good,
told
Mr.
him I'd add it to the 3rd, and we can have further discussion. Did you have another comment?
I did. It was more for Casey as a clarification. So I was under the impression that we were giving the $2 million to the city, and the city was going to put in workforce housing / affordable housing, which we all agree is a huge issue for our community. We're not handing $2 million over to Baptist. Is that correct?
That's correct, Commissioner Hoffberger. Baptist Healthcare will not receive a dime of this money. We have been working very hard with the City of Pensacola over the last 18 months to structure a donation agreement in which we give the City of Pensacola the balance of the remaining acreage of the Legacy Campus. We have sold 11 of those acres to the Paces Foundation. They will be breaking ground in September to build 214 units for senior and multifamily attainable housing. The goal is that the balance of the acreage will go to the city of Pensacola so that they then can redevelop the rest of the property. The initial studies that we have done show that up to another 700 units of housing will fit on that property. And so if you're thinking about recent investments that have been made in our community for housing, I believe this board voted recently for $2.4 million for up to 60 units of housing. If you look at $2 million for up to 700 units of housing, that's an incredible way to make an impact for such needed attainable housing in our community.
Casey,
It's
do we-
very close to the
Who's
military
developer?
base.
Do we have a developer for those houses? Is there someone out there that they're talking to?
I'm not sure what the city has planned
There
for
is.
that. Baptist will not have ownership in the property.
Skin in the game.
Commissioner, the money may not be going directly to Baptist, but it is alleviating the liability and the responsibility that they've gone into with the city of Pensacola. Whether it's going directly to Baptist or to the city of Pensacola for part of this partnership, it's still alleviate. I mean, the affordable housing. That's a catchy. I mean, that's a catchy pitch to us. That still, our money would be going to demolish the brick and mortar that they had an original responsibility to demolish. That is what our money would be going to, regardless of how it gets there. It's just alleviating a responsibility that we don't currently have, that we're simply being asked to chip in for.
Right, but you guys could have sold that property and made a profit
That's
versus
correct,
donating
and we
it.
did attempt. We did have the entire campus up for sale, and the only bids that we got on it were from the Paces Foundation. This is the most expedient route and the true vision and purpose of what a public-private partnership can be. We believe that this would be a model for the rest of the country about how quickly an abandoned or an unused hospital has been redeveloped. If you look at the example in Birmingham of Caraway Hospital, it sat empty for almost 20 years. And to Commissioner May's point, it did become a source of blight and crime for the community. And the local government ended up having to step in with about $20 million because the hospital system just walked away. Baptist is trying to get this done as quickly as possible so that does not happen in our community.
And actually, I'll tell you, for me, to be supportive, I've been very open and honest with Baptist. And I probably was the biggest advocate for keeping the hospital there. Casey will tell you that. I mean, because it meant a lot to the constituents that I serve. I can just tell you, Brownsville seniors, we probably have 80, 90 women, and 40 of them worked in housekeeping or the kitchen. I grew up going to Baptist Hospital on Sunday mornings. That's where we went to eat, and that's where we went and got our lunch. And that's where poor kids, when we were walking from Salvation Army to Fricka Center, that's where we went and got our meals. So it's important. And now it's almost a food desert. It's a medical desert. And so for me, you got to have housing, but you got to have quality life. Some of the things Commissioner Cole just talked about. You got to have playground, sidewalks, and light for children, not just programs. And so that's important to me, that all those things are a part. So I'm not saying write anybody a blank check. I'm saying that, and the reason I want to have this discussion, I didn't want to have it today in the discussion because the mayor requested that we not, I think we have an opportunity to share our vision with what we think ought to happen there, and to not just write a blank check for someone to go tear down a building.
I would agree with that. Yes, sir. Thank you.
And we have committed to Commissioner May. We are opening discussions about what the future of healthcare looks at that campus. We have a meeting scheduled with him later this week, I believe, and Community Health Northwest Florida. We've shared with Commissioner May, the city does have an additional $5 million CDBG grant that can be used for the redevelopment portion of the campus south of Marina Street, where the old behavioral health unit was, and the mayor has committed to work on the food desert problem there and use that funding to help put in a grocery store or some type of food that the residents of the community would be able to access. So we are working on those issues as well.
Thank you.
Like all these desert words.
Well, I went to this Japanese restaurant where they cooked the food in an open fire last night. I mean, we can put something like that. It was pretty fun. A lot of good food.
Okay, can we wrap this up?
No, I'm done.
All right, the only thing I want to add is the CAL that you requested next week. How are we going with that? And the mayor asked me, Wes, can you give me an update before we leave, and then we'll end this meeting?
Yes. Yep, we'll send out invites for the CAL to all interested parties to come send a representative so that I can all have input on the next phase of the Bay Center.
Okay. Any further comments? All right, this meeting's adjourned. Thank you all.